Some news just coming in. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement said on Monday it had carried out an attack on the United Arab Emirates after authorities in the Gulf state reported two fires in the capital, Abu Dhabi, that were possibly caused by drones. Abu Dhabi police, in a statement on the state news agency, has said that 3 fuel tankers that exploded in the industrial Musafa area near the storage facilities of oil firm ADNOC, and that a fire had broken out at a construction site at Abu Dhabi International Airport. There was no damage from the incidents, the statement said, adding that initial investigation showed parts of a small plane, possibly a drone, in both sites. This is Iran-backed Houthi then claiming responsibility. Suspected drone strike on Abu Dhabi airport. We'll try and get more details on that, if there have been any casualties or what are the kind of damages that we are reporting. But we have Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement saying on Monday that it had indeed carried out an attack on the United Arab Emirates after authorities in the Gulf state reported two fires in the capital city of Abu Dhabi. We have Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement claiming on Monday that it had carried out an attack on the United Arab Emirates after authorities in the Gulf state reported two fires in the capital, Abu Dhabi, that were possibly caused by drones. So we have an attack that has taken place at the Abu Dhabi International Airport. The police, in a statement, has said that 3 fuel tankers that exploded in the industrial Musafa area near the storage facilities of the oil firm, which is ADNOC, and that a fire had indeed broken out at a construction site at Abu Dhabi International Airport. There was no damage from the incidents, the statement has said, adding that initial investigation showed parts of a small plane, possibly a drone, in both sites. Big story developing at this hour. Suspected drone strike on Abu Dhabi airport where an outfit in Yemen, which is Iran-backed Houthi, has claimed responsibility for this attack in Abu Dhabi. It's a big story we're getting at this hour. We'll try and go across to my colleagues for more details on that, but we have a confirmation, in fact, from the Abu Dhabi police about a suspected drone attack that has taken place near a construction site at the airport, is what we've been given to understand. UAE has said that the explosion in Abu Dhabi was possibly caused by a drone strike, essentially. Houthi, in fact, has claimed responsibility. This is a Yemen outfit, which of course is aligned to Iran. Abu Dhabi police has said that the fire at its main airport and explosions with 3 fuel trucks were possibly caused by drones, and this obviously is a strike against targets in the United Arab Emirates capital city of Abu Dhabi. Yemen's Houthi rebels have said that they are responsible for the attacks. They've claimed responsibility. What we also know is that, and we'll try and get more clarity, from the preliminary information, it appears that there aren't any casualties. This is what is being reported by UAE's state-run WAM news agency. Just to tell our viewers a little about the Houthi movement in Yemen's civil war, the UAE, remember, has fought alongside Saudi Arabia in a coalition against Houthis in Yemen's civil war. In the past, the UAE did intensify its campaign against the Houthis, and specifically its air campaign against Houthi targets in Yemen. And this Iran-backed group had previously also said that they are going to retaliate. It does appear that this is an attempt at retaliation. Abu Dhabi police has said a fire at its main airport and explosions with 3 fuel trucks were possibly caused by drones. And we have Houthi rebels now, in fact, claiming responsibility. This is, remember, Iran-backed Houthis who have claimed responsibility for these attacks. Preliminary investigation seems to be indicating that these were drones, possibly, that fell in these areas at one construction site right near the airport in Abu Dhabi, and that led to some amount of destruction, but there are no casualties, is what the UAE state-run WAM news agency is reporting, quoting the Abu Dhabi police there. There are 2 fires in the capital city of Abu Dhabi that were possibly caused by drones. The police, in a statement, has said that these 3 fuel tankers that exploded in the industrial Musafa area near storage facilities of oil firm ADNOC, and that a fire had broken out at a construction site at Abu Dhabi International Airport. There's no damage from the incidents, the statement has said, adding that initial investigation showed parts of a small plane, possibly a drone, in both sites. Houthis in Yemen's civil war have in fact vowed to take revenge against the UAE, which of course is fighting alongside Saudi Arabia in a coalition against these rebels in Yemen's civil war. The UAE has intensified in the past its air campaign against Houthi rebels, and the Houthis had vowed to retaliate, and it does appear that this indeed is an act of retaliation. The Iran-backed group had said that it is going to take some sort of a revenge against the UAE. This is not the first time that Houthis have tried to attack UAE. They've done so in the past as well. This time around, it's a drone attack that we're reporting on, and a confirmation coming in from the Abu Dhabi police there, which has said that there was indeed a drone attack, and it is a strike against targets in the United Arab Emirates. The police has in fact said that there are no casualties, thankfully. The UAE, remember, has fought alongside Saudi Arabia in a coalition against the Houthis in Yemen's civil war. The UAE has said that suspects, these are drones in fact behind Abu Dhabi fires, and Yemen's Houthis have claimed responsibility for this attack. It's Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement has saying that they in fact had carried out an attack on the United Arab Emirates after authorities in the Gulf state have confirmed that indeed there was an attack. Shivarur, our executive editor, has more details on that story. Shiv, the Houthis in the past as well had also said that they are going to retaliate given UAE's coalition with Saudi Arabia and neutralizing Houthis in Yemen, which is of course Iran-backed. And this seems to be a retaliatory attack, isn't it?
This appears to be a retaliatory attack, amidst ongoing airstrikes that have been conducted by both UAE and Saudi Arabia, on the Houthi strongholds of Yemen, which, as you rightly pointed out, this is a rebel group that is Iran-backed. It has been armed by Iran as well. And this appears to have been some kind of a drone strike, Sneha. Quite unusual, because what it basically points to is that this kind of long-range capability is in the hands of non-state actors. The Houthi rebels are hardly an organized group. But the very fact that they've gotten their hands on drones that are capable of striking at range and at protected airspace like the UAE airport in Abu Dhabi, is a very, very disturbing development. Remember that Iran has invested a large amount of defense research and development funding into offensive drone technology, and this technology is being sold obviously to Iran's the groups that are backed by Iran. And this has been a sticking point with many of the Gulf countries, whether it is Saudi Arabia, UAE, even Israel, has been highlighting the fact that Iran is transferring and arming its organizations and those it backs with offensive drone technology, which is extremely dangerous in the wrong hands. What the Houthi rebels have basically demonstrated is they have the capability of actually effectively causing damage at standoff ranges. What precisely these drones were is not yet known. There are a huge plethora of drones that Iran has been developing, Sneha, in the last few months and years. But the very fact that that the Houthi rebels have been able to demonstrate their effectiveness is a huge step, and the world will be taking very, very close notice of this, because armed drones of the kind that can fly out to significant distances, cause damage at a fuel depot at the UAE airport in Abu Dhabi, is something to be very, very concerned about, because it basically renders pretty much any establishment vulnerable to attacks of this kind, and especially if it has been a targeted attack on fuel depots for obvious reasons, because It's incendiary. It will catch fire. There will be a lot of, collateral damage in and around the area. And I'm talking about, establishments, not just people, is something that really needs to be taken note of. And this is not the first time that Houthi rebels have been able to harness technology for offensive means.
And also not allowing the UN to intervene. Things could just get worse given that the Saudi coalition essentially is intensifying the bombardment, the aerial bombardment, particularly against the Houthis in Yemen, Shiv.
The coalition airstrikes by the Saudis and the UAE Air Force have been going on for quite a long time. And this has obviously been an enormous sticking point for Iran. There have been some there has been some diplomatic consolidations between former rivals. For instance, the UAE and Israel and Saudi Arabia. There have been some diplomatic linkages after many years of separation. And this has actually increased Iran's isolation in West Asia to a large extent. And that's one of the reasons why Iran has been hedging its own strategic bets to arm some of these other non-state groups, especially the Houthi rebels. There are others as well. There is the Hezbollah in Lebanon. There are other groups that Iran is accused of arming and actually funding. And therefore, attacks of this kind are extremely concerning, because it basically means that conventional weaponry, Sneha, of a reasonable capability. These are not ragtag weapons. These are precision-guided weapons. You don't get to launch drones, at significant ranges and expect them to hit targets unless you have some pretty decent technology, you have some pretty decent weaponry, and you've been trained to actually use that. So the very fact that Houthi rebels, which they're not a ragtag bunch of rebels, they do have some pretty decent weaponry, in their arsenal. But the fact that they can use standoff weaponry of this kind, having close quarter tactical weaponry, assault rifles, trucks, and that sort of thing is one thing. But to be able to deliver offensive capability at a standoff ranges, especially across borders at international ranges, Sneha, changes the game completely. This is in effect non-state actors having long-range delivery systems, to be able to actually attack high-value establishments, vulnerable establishments, energy establishments like fuel depots and airports, which are capable of crippling entire airport operations, and the kind of effect that can have on the UAE, on the regions, given that Abu Dhabi airport is a hub airport, that feeds into, many other destinations across the world, shows that the Houthi rebels or whoever it is who have taken credit for this attack know precisely what they're attacking, and they're managing to actually hit those targets.
Yes. Also, Shiv, for the benefit of our viewers, do take us through the details of the Houthi movement. What exactly is this movement about, and what are the stakes for Saudi Arabia essentially in quelling this movement in Yemen?
Yemen has been, a kind of morass of chaos and conflict for decades together, Sneha, and it has obviously given rise to many, many different power centers across ethnic and political lines, but mostly on ethnic lines. The Houthi rebels have been one of the, the biggest non-state sort of groupings in that particular war-torn country. We've seen India conduct a huge evacuation from Yemen just a few years ago. So that country has been in a kind of purgatory of chaos and conflict for many, many years now. And that conflict has given many powers, the ability to actually come in and try and see if they can get a place at the table as far as peace in that particular region, the Gulf basically, is concerned. And the Houthi rebels have been up for grabs for years. The Iranians were one of the first to move in, arm them, harness their power in order to, keep countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates in check, because they're like a sort of moving invisible enemy. Nobody knows where they come from. They're not part of the government, and yet they have this effective conventional weaponry. And that's one of the reasons why, this is going to be extremely concerning. There have been attacks by drones, Iranian drones at long ranges in the past. In the last few years, if I remember correctly, there was a similar attack of this very nature. So this would be the second or the third time that, a system of this kind is being demonstrated at a significant range. So it's going to be something that strategic watchers are going to be looking at very closely from across the world.
Undoubtedly, the Houthis are going to keep at it. Just recently, they also hijacked a UAE ship. Shiv, I was asking you that the Houthis are expected to keep at it, given that just recently they had hijacked a ship from the UAE.
They will for sure, Sneha. I mean, like I said, Yemen, has been isolated in so many ways. It is surrounded, by either powers that are, have been part of this coalition of airstrikes in Yemen and other places, or it is surrounded by countries that are, in a state of conflict themselves. You've got Syria, you've got Iraq. You've got all of the other countries in the region which are in a, in kind of chaotic free fall for many, many years, if not decades together. So Yemen has become a focal point. Yemen, remember, sits on the mouth of the Persian Gulf. So it is extremely crucial geopolitically in terms of trade. Peace in Yemen has been a faraway castle for a very long time. The coalition of airstrikes between UAE, Saudi Arabia, have been going on for a long time, but they haven't really managed to obviously, have any significant impact in terms of deterring the Houthi rebels and other groups in Yemen and otherwise. And that's one of the reasons why this is happening. The very fact that Iran, which is a conventional power, a country that has a large conventional military, a huge, military research and development establishment, is able to actually get these weapons into the hands of such groups, train them well enough to conduct attacks that are spectacular. And when I say spectacular, I mean, it makes the headlines because you've hit fuel depots at the Abu Dhabi airport, which is of economic significance, not just to the region, but to the entire world, especially at a time when civil aviation and trade has already been hit thanks to the COVID pandemic. So you see the huge number of geopolitical ripple effects that an attack of this kind can have. So the Houthi rebels are definitely going to, keep UAE, Saudi Arabia and other countries in that region on their toes.
Absolutely. Shiv, thanks for getting us all of those details, Shivarur. With that detailed report on what has happened really in Abu Dhabi today, where Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement has claimed responsibility of an attack that took place right at the Abu Dhabi airport. It was at a construction site, and the police there in Abu Dhabi have in fact confirmed there have been no casualties and that the drones were brought down before they could explode. With that report, it's time for a quick break here. Much more news on the other side. Do stay on with us.